Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining us during the Lytham Partners Fall 2022 Investor Conference. My name is Ben Shamsian, Vice President of Lytham Partners. Our next presentation comes from Reviva Pharmaceuticals, ticker symbol RVPH on the NASDAQ. Presenting from the company is Dr. Lax Bhat, CEO and founder. Before we begin, for those not familiar, Lytham Partners is one of the country's leading investor relations firms. With more than 2 decades of corporate access experience, we have built one of the industry's most diverse and effective platforms for connecting small cap companies with high quality and focused institutional investors, while creating a framework of best practices in all aspects of investor relations. Today's presentation is hopefully yet another example where we can bring value to multiple constituents. As a reminder, a copy of the slide presentation is available on your webcast screen. Today, I've asked the company to briefly run through the slide presentation, and we will then engage in a fireside Q&A chat. As a reminder, the company will be available for one-on-one virtual meetings. If you have not already signed up, please send me an email at shamsian@lythampartners.com. That's SHAMSIAN@lythampartners.com, or visit lythampartners.com/virtual and click the one-on-one meeting request button. With that said, now I will turn the presentation over to Dr. Lax Bhat, CEO and founder of Reviva. Lax, please proceed.
Thanks, Ben, for having me here. I really appreciate this opportunity to present here at the Lytham conference. So before I begin my presentation, I would like to display here the forward-looking statements. I would like all the viewers to review this forward-looking statement. So Reviva is a clinical stage pharmaceutical company focused on developing novel therapies for CNS and respiratory diseases of huge unmet need. And we use chemical genomics-driven technology and proprietary chemistry to develop new drug molecules. Here is our pipeline. We have 2 molecules in development, RP1208. This is a triple reuptake inhibitor currently in IND-enabling developments. We expect to bring this drug to clinic sometime next year. The most advanced molecule is brilaroxazine. This is a serotonin dopamine modulator currently in the phase 3 development for schizophrenia indication. So prior to starting the phase 3 study, we have completed 2 studies in schizophrenia patients, one in stable schizophrenia patient, other one is acute schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder patient population. So based on the data generated to date, we believe this drug can be extended for treating bipolar, major depressive disorder, and ADHD. And the drug has also shown very compelling data in translational model for pulmonary arterial hypertension and pulmonary fibrosis. So just before going to present the data, I would like to tell all the viewers here, we are fully funded to complete the ongoing phase 3 study. We expect to give top-line phase 3 data sometime next year, mid of next year, in June, around June timeframe. So now coming to the science. So you might be wondering why we are, working on developing this drug for serotonin dopamine targeted compound for respiratory indications, PAH and then IPF. So the serotonergic mechanism is very well known for neuropsychiatric disorders and neurological conditions. However, currently there is no approved drug for serotonin-targeted drug for pulmonary indications. If you look at recent clinical literature, it is very compelling evidences you can find for dysfunctional serotonin signaling, especially derived from receptors 5-HT2A, 2B, and then 7 receptors can cause PAH and then IPF. Rather, they are considered as upstream targets. Having potent activities and selectivities for these receptors, we believe, our drug is an ideal position to treat both mental illness and respiratory conditions, PAH and an IPF. Now, coming to the market outlook for our product, so I just would like to highlight few facts here. Not all antipsychotics currently in the market are used for or approved for treatment of beyond schizophrenia. Only a handful of drugs are approved for treatment of beyond schizophrenia, such as major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, and ADHD. Especially major depressive disorder and ADHD are much larger market size compared to schizophrenia. Having broad spectrum activity, we believe, or the clinical data generated to date, we believe our drug can be extended for beyond schizophrenia for the treatment of all major diseases, neuropsychiatric conditions highlighted here, with a total addressable market size of $40 billion. Now, coming to the pulmonary indications, pulmonary arterial hypertension and then pulmonary fibrosis, these two are orphan indications. Currently, there is no cure for PAH and an IPF, despite there are few drugs currently in the market for approved drugs for treatment of these two conditions. The total addressable market size is around $20 billion. So having said that, currently there is no cure for these two diseases. Average lifespan of a PAH patient is around the post-diagnosis around 5 to 7 years, whereas with IPF patients hardly around 2.5 to 3 years. So if we are able to extend these patients' life for a couple of months to year, this could be a great achievement. Drug can be very useful in this patient population. We have compelling data to show for these two indications, as well as for schizophrenia. I will quickly walk through some of the data. Now, quickly coming to some of the facts for schizophrenia indication. So despite having around 10 drugs in the market, out of that, around 5 to 6 drugs are blockbuster drugs. If you look at some of the statistics shown here, around 30 to 50% patients discontinue with the currently approved drug or a blockbuster drug in 4 to 6 weeks of treatment. In the long run, up to 70% patients discontinue medication. Schizophrenia treatment requires, in many patients, lifelong, if not lifelong, several years of treatment. So safety and then efficacy both contribute to suboptimal efficacy and then side effect profiles associated with approved antipsychotics or current standard of care, contributing to this discontinuation rates highlighted here. On the other hand, if you look at on the top left-hand corner, the number of patients in the US alone, over close to 4 million people suffer from schizophrenia. Globally, around 24 million people suffer from schizophrenia. So there's a huge unmet need in this patient population to address, despite having a couple of blockbuster drugs. Now, without going into all the complex science, if you would like to compare our drugs data generated to date, especially in the large phase 2 study, our drug has shown around 12 to 14% dropout for marketable dose. That is around a 50% better than compared to blockbuster standard of care currently in the market. To my knowledge, that speaks very clearly. Our drug, brilaroxazine, has superior and efficacy and safety profile compared to blockbuster drugs currently in the market. I'll walk through some of the data and then pharmacology profile of our drug. Now, so all the drugs approved to date are targeted for serotonin and dopamine targets. So we believe serotonin and dopamine targets are primary targets. The dysfunctional dopamine serotonin also reported to imbalance other neurochemicals in the brain, such as glutamate, GABA, nicotinic levels in the brain. On the other hand, if you look at on the left-hand side, the different parts of the brain where various symptom domains I just discussed, such as positive symptoms, negative symptoms, or mood or cognitive, are highlighted here, and then also the corresponding dopamine, serotonin subreceptors. So having potent activity and selectivity for these receptors, we believe, especially the upstream targets, we believe our drug can treat all the major symptom domains associated with schizophrenia effectively. So here is our receptor activity profile of our drug. So this is our drug targets clinically validated targets or proven targets. In the approved blockbuster drugs currently in the market are also targeted for serotonin and dopamine. In what way our drug is differentiated compared to these blockbuster drugs? Most approved antipsychotics, blockbuster drugs currently in the market, have potent activity for D2 and then 5-HT2A receptor activities. However, our drug has, besides these two receptor activities, our drug also has potent activity for D4, 5-HT2B, and then 7. These three receptors are implicated in the comorbidities or major symptom domains associated with schizophrenia, such as negative symptoms, cognition, and then more, which are hard to treat with the approved antipsychotics of standard of care. That makes our drug differentiated product compared to other approved antipsychotics in the market. This is with respect to efficacy. Now, safety is also very important because if drug is not safe enough or tolerable in this patient population, patients are not going to take the medication. So that comes from the off-target activities. If you look at to a great extent, in the last 20 to 30 years of research in the scientific community, understand what is contributing to the side effects associated with the standard of care, blockbuster standard of care. The receptors, especially the 5-HT2C and then muscarinic receptors, are implicated in the metabolic diseases such as weight gain, drug-induced diabetes and lipid profile, or endocrine side effect imbalance of hormones such as prolactin and hypothyroid. And adrenergic 1 and 2 are also implicated in the cardiac side effects and metabolic. Our drug, compared to the primary target, D2 or 5-HT2B, it has almost like 100 to 200-fold weaker or no activity. That is the key differentiation with respect to other blockbuster drugs currently in the market, especially when you consider the safety profile of our drug. So in other words, this drug has differentiating factors compared to both on the efficacy side as well as a safety side. So a combination of this, the safety, improved safety and then efficacy, we believe this could be an ideal drug to treat schizophrenia and other comorbidities associated in this patient population. So here is the top line data in the phase 2 study. We conducted a large study in 234 patients in acute schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder patient population. Now, if you look at the data, we have shown all three doses, 15, 30, and then 50 milligrams, show good improvement in this patient population, and then up to a 20-point improvement in the two doses with a statistically significant improvement. So now, if you look at the placebo-adjusted efficacy, it's around 10-point separation. So either way you slice, whether it is a baseline to day 28 in the treatment group alone, or in the placebo-adjusted, either way, the data is really robust compared to approved blockbuster drugs. So approved blockbuster drugs in the similar trial, I have a comparative slide to show you, showed anywhere around a 13-point decrease in the PANSS score. PANSS is a positive and negative symptom scale. It's the primary endpoint scale used for approving an antipsychotic drug or evaluating severity of schizophrenia. So blockbuster drug in similar trials showed anywhere around a 13 to 18-point improvement or a decrease in PANSS score. Our drug has shown around a 20-point improvement. This is certainly depending upon which drug you would like to compare our data. Our data, we believe, anywhere around a 20% to 60% better on the total PANSS score reduction or the primary endpoint. Another point to be noted here, how quickly drug acts in patient population. If you look at here, the drug started showing efficacy separating from placebo in the first week itself, and then it showed sustained improvement on the day 28, end of treatment in the 4 weeks. That is clearly an indication that patients are much faster recovering from the symptoms, and then it may be an indication that patients would have a remission level efficacy in a short span of time. In fact, in this study, we have seen 46% patients showed remission level efficacy, their PANSS score reduced below 70, and then 72% patients showed over 20% improvement. So this is really, to my knowledge, is a really robust data, superior data compared to other blockbuster drugs in the similar trial. So this is about the approval criteria. What makes difference by an antipsychotic drug in the treatment outcome is ability of a drug to treat negative symptoms and then ability to improve the social functioning. Most approved antipsychotics, or all approved antipsychotics currently in the market, they address positive symptoms and then reduce the total PANSS score. However, all antipsychotics are not good, not equally potent or efficacious in treating negative symptoms and social inhibition. If you look at our data here, on the day 15, the second week itself, our drug has shown statistically significant improvement with about 3-point decrease in PANSS score on a negative symptom scale. On the day 28, almost close to 4.5 to 4.9, a decrease in PANSS score. This is really a robust data compared to other blockbuster drugs in the market. So similar data we have seen for improvement in social functioning. So whenever we see the improvement in negative symptoms and social functioning, that is an indication that the drug can be readily developed for other indications very closely related or overlapping symptoms, such as major depressive disorder or a bipolar disorder. As a matter of fact, even in the schizophrenia, this could be an indication that faster recovery. So overall, we have addressed all the major symptom domains associated with schizophrenia with this drug in 4 weeks of treatment with really robust efficacy data. Now, the next point is to the safety. Safety is equally important. As I mentioned, this is a treatment requires anywhere around months to years in many patients' lifelong treatment. There are 3 different types of side effects associated or reported with standard of care. One is neuroleptic side effect. This is a CNS side effect. So if you look at our data here, 15 to 30 to 50, there is a dose-dependent increase in side effect. So the highest dose showed around 8.5% neuroleptic side effect. How bad is this side effect? If you compare the blockbuster drugs such as cariprazine or risperidone, anywhere in the other blockbuster drug, if you total in general, if you compare anywhere around a 5% on Abilify to 16% some risperidone in the widely used doses. However, we believe when our drug comes to market, we believe 15 milligram is the marketable dose most widely used. Even if you consider the highest dose 50, this is really still it is an acceptable side effect compared to blockbuster drugs. In the same study, when we compared our drug with the widely used dose of Abilify 15 milligram, our drug has shown around a 50% better in terms of side effect. This is really a remarkable safety feature. Now, another feature, if you would like to look at endocrine side effect, increasing prolactin. And if you look at whether it is a low dose or high dose, we haven't seen any increase in prolactin. Increase in prolactin can lead to sexual side effect, enlargement of breasts in both men and women. And then also this can lead to a variety of other problems. Now, coming to the hypothyroidism, again, this is another problem associated with majority of the antipsychotics. Our drug did not cause any hypothyroidism. If you look at in the same study, the blockbuster drug Abilify showed a hypothyroidism marker increase. So now coming to the metabolic side effect, our drug is compared to placebo, as you can see, whether it's a low dose or high dose, did not increase body weight, it did not change blood sugar, rather it decreased the lipid profile compared to placebo. These are all good features. So now coming to overall, this drug has shown excellent safety profile and then efficacy. So here is a summary. Drug has shown good efficacy and met the primary endpoint as well as a key secondary endpoints, positive symptoms, statistically significant improvement for positive symptoms, negative and social functioning. Drug has also highest dose also shown improvement, statistically significant improvement in cognition, cognitive impairment. And then when it comes to side effect profile, as I just highlighted, it's a very clean profile. There is no increase in body weight, blood sugar, or lipid profile, and then no endocrine side effect. These are all good features. Most importantly, we haven't seen any increase in suicidal ideation. Overall, marketable dose, what we are projecting, 15 milligram, did not show any side effect related dropout. Overall dropout is around 12 to 14%. That is, compared to blockbuster drugs, it's over 50% better compared to other blockbuster drugs. So now with this data, we started phase 3 study in the early this year. This is the phase 3 study design. We are currently conducting 2 studies. One is the phase 2 study with the 2 doses, 15 milligram and then 50 milligram compared to placebo. It's a 4 weeks treatment similar to phase 2. It is just we are adding 150 patients more. Otherwise, trial design is same as what we have successfully completed in 234 patients. After completion of the 4-week study, patients can roll over to open label study, or also new patients can join the open label study, the safety study. So the trials, both the trials are progressing very well. As we announced almost 6 weeks ago, we completed over 20% enrollment. We will be updating soon with the current enrollment in the next couple of weeks. So overall, the trial is progressing very well. We expect to give top line data, as I mentioned, mid of next year. So here is a comparison of our clinical data of our drug, brilaroxazine, compared to blockbuster drugs currently in the market. There are 6 blockbuster drugs currently in the market: olanzapine, risperidone. They got approved almost 25 years ago, mid-90s. And then this is both olanzapine and risperidone are known to cause a lot of side effects. That's what they are on the top right-hand quadrant. Then if you look at the other 4 drugs highlighted here, Seroquel, Abilify, Vraylar, and Rexulti, they are in the bottom 2 quadrants. This meta-analysis was reported by a research analyst, John Vandermosten, from JAX. So if you look at the data presented here, brilaroxazine certainly, in terms of efficacy and then safety, the data generated to date certainly superior compared to these blockbuster drugs. So based on this data, we initiated the phase 3 study. As I mentioned, the phase 3 study design is very close to phase 2. We are successfully completed. We are very optimistic about the outcome of the phase 3 data. So this is about the neuropsychiatric program. I may take another a minute to quickly highlight before I wrap up this presentation. So as I mentioned at the beginning, both PAH and then IPF are lung diseases, and then primarily caused by dysfunctional serotonin. And then again, in that, there are 3 major receptors are implicated: 5-HT2A, 2B, and then 7. We have potent activity for these 3 receptors. Without going into the details of science, I would like to show the comparative data of our drug with blockbuster drugs currently in the market. So there are 3 types of drugs currently available for the treatment of PAH. One is endothelin receptors. The lead drug is bosentan. Second one is PDE5 inhibitor. Lead drug is sildenafil. Third one is a prostacyclin. Lead drug is treprostinil. So we have compared all the lead drugs in these 3 different categories with our drug in the translational model. If you look at here, the dark blue bar is for PAH-induced animal, and then red bar is for our drug, brilaroxazine. Our drug has statistically significantly reduced the pulmonary arterial hypertension. Now, if you compare this data with the blockbuster drugs currently in the market, 3 different types, whether it is a bosentan, sildenafil, or treprostinil, our drug has shown clearly superior data. And then if you look at the add-on therapies, it is even better. So why it is add-on therapy? Because the clinical trials are conducted as add-on therapies because this patient survival is very short span. So this is really a very compelling data compared to other approved standard of care for PAH. Now, the next one is IPF. There are 2 approved drugs currently in the market: nintedanib from Boehringer Ingelheim. Second one is pirfenidone from Roche Genentech. So these are the only 2 drugs approved for treatment of pulmonary fibrosis. Again, in the similar fashion, we have done head-to-head comparison in the same study, our drug with an intradental as well as an add-on therapy. If you look at the data, again, it's really a robust data, a superior data, I would say, compared to these two approved standard of care for IPF. So this is in reduction in fibrosis. And then if the reduction in fibrosis can lead to increase in blood oxygen that you expect to see as the treatment works, as you've seen in the animal model, the blood oxygen level went up, and then that translated into survival. So survival is an ultimate marker. If you look at it in this translational model, untreated animals survived only around 60% versus treated close to 100%. So overall, this is to our knowledge, this is really a superior and a very encouraging data. So with this, we met FDA. FDA has already granted orphan designation for this drug. We are currently in a process of preparing phase 3 studies for these two indications. We will update the progress our shareholders in the coming months. So with this, I would like to say thank you all for your attention, and then happy to answer any questions you may have. So thank you.
All right, Lex, thank you for that presentation. Let's expand a bit on a few topics. Let's talk about the competitive drugs that are currently either on the market or are in trial phase. How do they compare to brilaroxazine, and how is brilaroxazine superior?
Sure. As I said at the beginning, there are other drugs in the market. There are around 10 drugs are in the market for treatment of schizophrenia, but out of that, only a handful of drugs, around 6 drugs are blockbuster drugs. That already I showed the comparative data, such as Abilify or aripiprazole, Zyprexa, risperidone. They are standard of care blockbuster drugs. We have comparative meta-analysis data presented. We are, our drug has shown really a good efficacy and safety profile. Now, coming to the other drugs currently in development, besides our drug, brilaroxazine, there are 2 companies working on schizophrenia or antipsychotic. One is Karuna Therapeutics, other one is Sunovion. So these are both US-based companies, and Karuna Therapeutics are already announced their first pivotal phase 3 data a couple of weeks back. So with the phase 3, first pivotal phase 3 data has already been reported for Sunovion compound as well a couple of months back. So compared to this data, we believe we have really, it's our assessment. We believe we have very robust data and then safety. In other words, overall superior data compared to the comparative drugs currently in the development or a blockbuster drugs currently in the market.
Okay, you're at phase 3 trial here. Can you just quickly walk us through sort of the timeline between now and when you expect FDA approval?
Yeah, as I mentioned, our trial is progressing very well as we planned. We expect to give top-line data for this pivotal trial mid of next year in May, June. So that will set a stage for further, NDA submission for approval and then commercialization. So our timeline is next year, mid of, we'll give the top-line data for pivotal study, and then for safety study, long-term safety study, first quarter 2024, and then NDA submission to FDA in the Q4 2024. The drug approval in 2025, and then drug should be in the market 2025. That's our projections for this drug.
Okay, great. And finally, can you talk about your cash position and your capital needs for the foreseeable future?
So, we are fully funded to complete this ongoing phase 3 study and then give the top line data mid of next year. So, at the end of this month, we will be having around close to $25 million cash in the bank. Our current burn rate is around $5 million per quarter. Having said that, our cash position is good through 2023, and also to give successfully complete the pivotal phase 3 study and then give the top line data in mid of next year.
Okay, Lex, thank you very much for your time today. We greatly appreciate it. To anyone out there who's not already signed up for a one-on-one, again, please send me an email at shamsian@lythampartners.com. That's SHAMSIAN@lythampartners.com, or again, visit lythampartners.com/virtual and click the one-on-one request button. Finally, we have another presentation coming up here shortly. Again, visit the website for all the details, and hope you have a good rest of the day. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you all.